On the Benin-Ore Expressway, headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating a wealthy businessman crawling on bloodied knees, his designer suit torn and his gold wristwatch stolen. He stretched a trembling hand toward the blur of cars rushing past, but no one stopped. Not even the pastor in his convoy. Not even the community leader in his tinted SUV. And as his eyes dimmed, ready to close forever, it was the rumble of an old bus, carrying tired passengers from the north, that finally screeched to a halt. Stay with me as we discover his journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so you will not miss out in our next thrilling video. Chief Emeka Nwadinobi had everything Lagos could offer. A mansion in Lekki Phase 1, a fleet of luxury cars, contracts with government officials, and a family name that opened doors in high society. Yet on this humid Friday evening, he found himself restless. He had been in Benin for a business meeting and insisted on traveling by road instead of flying back to Lagos. "Planes make me feel trapped," he often said. The expressway, that long, treacherous ribbon connecting Edo to Ogun and onward to Lagos, gave him a sense of freedom. But freedom came at a price. The Benin-Ore Expressway was notorious. Stories of kidnappings, armed robberies, and phantom police checkpoints floated like restless spirits. Drivers whispered about cars that vanished and bodies that turned up days later in the forest. Chief Emeka's driver, Colonel, had warned him. "Oga make we fly abeg. This road no day safe for night." But Emeka waved him off. "Drive. I've been on this road 100 times. Nothing will happen." It was just past 9 p.m. when their SUV hit the stretch near Okada Junction, a stretch infamous for its darkness. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, and the only sound was the humming of the tires against asphalt. Then, sudden blinding light. A truck swerved across the road, blocking their lane. "Jesus!" Colonel slammed the brakes. Before the SUV could stop fully, masked men spilled from the roadside bushes, rifles in their hands. Their faces were shadowed, but their intent was clear. "Out. Everybody down," one barked. The next few minutes were chaos. Colonel was dragged from the driver's seat and beaten. Emeka tried to protest, but a rifle crashed into his jaw, sending him sprawling. His Rolex was ripped off. His wallet, his phone, even his wedding ring, gone. They pulled him toward the bush, whispering of ransom. "Nah big man him go fetch money." But something spooked them. Maybe headlights approaching. Maybe paranoia. A gunshot rang. Emeka collapsed. He wasn't sure if the bullet had grazed or pierced him. Only the sharp sting in his side and the gush of warm blood told him he was badly hurt. In their panic, the kidnappers fled, leaving him by the roadside like discarded trash. Emeka's vision blurred as he crawled back toward the asphalt. He could hear cars, distant hums, like lifelines that refused to come closer. He lifted a weak arm, his fingers stretching toward salvation. The first headlights he saw belonged to a convoy. Shiny SUVs, sirens flashing lightly, speeding with purpose. Through his fading sight, he recognized the emblem on one of the cars. Redeemed Glory Ministries International. Pastor Joshua Attaboy, the televangelist. The man who preached to millions on TV every Sunday. The man who spoke of compassion, grace, and sacrifice. The convoy slowed. For a moment, hope flared. But the tinted glass stayed up. The pastor inside barely turned his head. His assistants murmured, "Daddy, it could be a trap. They use people like this to lure kidnappers." The convoy accelerated, leaving dust in its wake. Emeka coughed blood and whispered, "Pastor, please?" But only the roar of engines answered him. Minutes stretched like hours. His body was cold, his breath shallow. Another car approached. This time a Toyota Land Cruiser, polished and tinted. The driver slowed, clearly seeing the crumpled figure on the roadside. Inside was Chief Olalekan Alabi, respected community leader from Osun, en route to a political meeting in Benin. He frowned, fear creasing his face. His aide asked, "Sir, should we help?" Chief Alabi hesitated. He remembered the stories, drivers stopping to help only to be ambushed, shot, kidnapped. He thought of his wife, his children, the political seat he was fighting for. "Drive," he said quietly. "But sir." "Drive." And just like that, another hope vanished in a trail of taillights. By now, Emeka could barely move. His mind replayed his life. The contracts won, the money hoarded, the dinners at Eco Hotel. None of it mattered as the blood seeped into the earth. Then he heard it, the rattling engine of an old bus. Headlights dim, body rusted, carrying weary passengers heading from Kano to Lagos. The driver, a tall man with Hausa features, slowed when he saw the figure on the ground. "Wallahi, stop!" he barked at himself, pulling the bus to the side. The passengers protested. "Driver, no. This is how armed robbers set trap." But the man shook his head. "Even if not trapped, this one no fit move again. He go die if we leave am." His name was Malam Ibrahim Musa, a bus driver who barely made enough to feed his family in Zaria. Yet he jumped down, lifted the bleeding businessman with surprising strength, and placed him gently inside the bus. The passengers looked on, silent. They drove through the night until they found a small private hospital in Oregon. The nurses recoiled when they saw the blood-soaked man. "No money, no treatment," one said flatly. Malam Ibrahim pulled out crumpled Naira notes from his pocket. His entire earnings from the trip. To help am. The doctor glanced at the money, barely enough for a deposit. But something in Ibrahim's eyes made him relent. They wheeled Emeka into surgery. 4 hours, Ibrahim sat outside, covered in dust, his passengers muttering curses for the delay. Yet he stayed. He prayed. He waited. At dawn, the doctor emerged. "He will live," he said. When Emeka opened his eyes, the first face he saw was not his wife's, not his business partner's, not even the pastor's. It was the weary face of a poor bus driver who had given everything for a stranger. Tears burned Emeka's eyes. He tried to speak, but words failed him. He simply reached for Ibrahim's hand and squeezed. News of the incident spread quickly. Social media erupted. Pastor Joshua ignores dying man on expressway. Community leader flees scene of robbery victim. Poor northern driver saves wealthy businessman. The hypocrisy was glaring. The same men who preached charity and leadership had failed when it mattered most. But a man with nothing had shown the truest form of humanity. Weeks later, fully recovered, Emeka held a press conference. He stood beside Ibrahim and announced, "This man saved my life when those with power and position turned away. From today, I will sponsor his children's education, build him a new house in Zaria, and ensure his family never suffers again." The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. But the twist was not in Emeka's generosity. It was in his confession. "I was one of those who mocked stories of Samaritan kindness. I thought money could buy everything, until I learned that true wealth is in the heart. I was left for dead by those I admired, and saved by the one I would have ignored." The world listened. And for once, silence carried weight. The Benin-Ore Expressway remained dangerous. Robbers still lurked, politicians still lied, and pastors still built cathedrals taller than hospitals. But the story of the Good Samaritan on that road spread far and wide. Drivers told it in whispers at filling stations. Market women shared it with their children. And every time Ibrahim's bus rumbled across the highway, passengers looked at him differently, not as a poor driver but as a man who carried the courage of a nation.